Arsenal midfielder Thomas Partey ready to reject big money offers and sign new contract. What does that headline make you feel? Should we keep Partey? Should we let him go? Don't forget to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts immediately, people. Subscribe if you're new here and big up to you lot. The midfielder has interest from clubs from Europe and Saudi Arabia, but wants to stay in North London. Now, that isn't necessarily something we've just found out today. Since prior to Berta, it felt like Thomas Partey was, regardless of how his season played out, was going to depart Arsenal Football Club. While we've never had a conversation with Arteta, with Berta, or any of the decision makers, and we're just relying on journalists where there's no way of checking if they're credible or they're, creating a bit of fantasy. It seems like when Berta came in, there's been a bit of a change in shift. Now, if we don't get Gyokeres, we are going to have to pivot. But it seems like we've gone from, it looks like Sesko's the one to Gyokeres is the one. Trossard might be someone that leaves. Seems like we're in talks with a new deal with him. Obviously, there's been a change of heart with Thomas Partey. I'd love to know you lot's thoughts, because right now it seems like a no-brainer to give Thomas a new deal. He's shown us consistency with his fitness and his performances, but it is that age-old thing of a player playing out of their skin in the last year of their deal. And prior to this season, I know football is a fickle sport, which ultimately is judged by if you're playing well or not. Partey is a player that I wouldn't say Arsenal fans ever questioned his ability, but probably one that a lot of, for as much fans that want to keep him, some fans would let him go. And also, we haven't got Zubamendi over the line yet to us common folk, because we haven't seen him hold shirts and say he grew up watching Henry and all of that. But is Zubamendi purely a replacement for Jorginho? Is he someone that could play with Thomas Partey, easing the burden on Rice? Is he someone seen as the long-term partner for Declan Rice? Is he better than Thomas Partey? And if we keep Partey and we get Zubamendi, is that enough in midfield, people? So let me know your thoughts. Hopefully I've got the creative juices flowing. Thomas Partey is ready to rebuff lucrative offers from Saudi Arabia because he wants to sign a new contract with Arsenal. Partey is into the final 2 months of his deal at the Emirates Stadium and is yet to agree fresh terms. Arsenal want the Ghana midfielder to stay and have held talks with his camp in recent weeks. Partey would ideally like the situation resolved before Arsenal's final game of the season next week at Southampton, but it could rumble on beyond that. The 31-year-old has interest from Atletico Madrid, which is not only Berta's former club, but Thomas Partey's, Barcelona and Juventus, while clubs in Saudi Arabia are also keen. Now, to be fair, he's got a lot to think about. Do you stay at Arsenal? You got a young family, stability in London. Clearly, the manager loves you. You're showing form. We haven't got over the line, but we're sniffing with that. Or do you, at 31 years of age, if you want to go and get paid in Saudi, no one can begrudge you. Juventus, it seems like, you got players that are 31, 32, so on and so forth. Look at Mkhitaryan in Inter Milan. It's like they go over to Italy and it's like they drink some magic potions and they wind back the years, and a 31-year-old is behaving like a 21-year-old physically on a football pitch. And obviously, you look at Spain and Italy, the lifestyle is a nice place to live, really. So I couldn't begrudge you. Barcelona's a massive club, and you see what Hansi Flick's doing. He knows about Atletico Madrid. He knows about Juventus, obviously, and it's a massive club in itself. Saudi Arabia and the riches you could get is amazing. At Arsenal, are you going to get the length of contract you want, the dynamic in terms of length of contract that you want? And what I mean by that is, are you going to get a 2, maybe a 3-year deal, a 2-year deal with an option of a third? Are you going to get just a simple 2-year deal? Are you going to get a 1-year deal with an option of another one? Are you going to have to take a wage cut? Are you going to get a wage cut, but they give you a loyalty bonus and things like that? I don't know. It's understood Partey's preference is to sign a new contract at Arsenal, and he hopes an agreement can be found. So if there's a willingness from the club and willingness from Partey, we have to meet in the middle. It's not decided yet. And, I feel sorry for Berta, because between getting players in, getting players out, pivoting if we don't get certain signings, getting new deals done. There's rumors about Kivior, Trossard, Partey. We all know about William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Bukayo Saka. He isn't going to sleep a wink this summer. He's enjoyed arguably his best season since joining Arsenal from Atletico Madrid in 2020 for around 45 million. Between the 2022-23 season and now, in terms of consistency, in terms of availability, in terms of consistency and proper performances from Partey, I think so. Partey's also had his best record with injury since moving to North London. I hate to be that guy, but what if next season he reverts back to type and is set to make 50 appearances for the first time since 17-18 season at Atletico Madrid? That's Partey's issue, really. You think of Partey, I would say he's good a lot. Throughout his time at Arsenal, he's been good, but you haven't seen a consistent great Thomas Partey. The 2022-23 and this season, you've seen consistently high levels. And obviously fitness. Partey is a player that, you know, you saw against Bournemouth and arguably against PSG, slight exaggeration, but you take him out of the side, you disrupt his continuity, and he looks like that. He's not really a plug-in kind of player. Now, I could be wrong, and he could be demoted as kind of a squad player, but I feel Partey is best when he's had a consistent run of games. He's not really like a plug-in player. Like, they could be playing for 10 games, they're out for whatever reason for 2-3 weeks, and then they're back to it, people. We also know Arsenal are planning to bolster their midfield this summer with the arrival of Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Zubimendi has a release clause of around 50 million, and the expectation is he will move to Arsenal at the end of the season. He's been linked with several big clubs, including Bayern Munich, Liverpool, and Real Madrid. Arsenal have a good relationship with Sociedad. We bought Marino. We're getting the band together with Odegaard. Hopefully that could mean Isak, and then I wake up and I realize we're not going to sign Alexander Isak, people. Bit of a testing period for Sociedad. You know, they've had a topsy-turvy season. Their director is leaving. I think they sacked their manager recently. Zubimendi is now 26. He's going to fly the nest, really, and leave the mountains of Sociedad, as he says he loves so much, and maybe go to London. But, you know, for every signing, you don't really want to count your chickens before they hatch. And with Zubimendi, he's one that I'll only truly believe when you're signed on the dotted line. So we'll have to see. Jorginho set to leave and return back to Brazil, people, and sign at least a 2-year contract. Good on him, man. Big up Jorginho. Heyne, now he's someone that 1 minute is Chelsea, then Liverpool, then Arsenal, then Real Madrid. It seems like there's still no willingness to draw a conclusion on where his future lies. Multiple Prem clubs have been linked, including Arsenal, Liverpool, and mainly Chelsea. Heyne's decision regarding his future is expected to arrive in the next few hours. The defender's entourage and his father have visited several clubs, including Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Bournemouth are clear about their demands and will not go below the player's release clause, which stands at around 50 million. Apparently, that can be paid in 3 installments, people. And apparently, the 3 British clubs in Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool pose a major threat to Real Madrid, who are contemplating a switch. Apparently, his preference is Real Madrid. You can't begrudge him for that now, can you? And I think the dumbest are Juventus, because he's been at Bournemouth for 1 season. They've made a sizable profit. I'm sure you sold him to Bournemouth for pennies and you bought Lloyd Kelly for about 20 million. What's going on at Juventus, people? It all depends where you read, people. But pausing the Dean Heuschen stuff for a second, Nico Williams reps have insisted the winger is ready to head to the Premier League. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Newcastle have all held exploratory talks. This has gone a step further and said he'd be open to a summer switch to Arsenal, and further talks have been held with Andrea Berta and Nico Williams' camp in relation to doing such, people. Apparently Bilbao are well placed to secure Champions League qualification. Now, we go around the houses several times with Nico Williams. 1 minute he wants to stay and play in the Europa League, then the Champions League, then sign a new long-term contract, then go to Barcelona, then sign for Arsenal, any other Premier League club. We're taking around the houses, people. According to Bailey of this report, Arsenal and Chelsea are both at the front of the queue to sign Williams this summer, although Liverpool, Manchester City, and Newcastle have all been in talks with his camp. Apparently, you know, there has been rumors about a 400 grand a week wages. I'm pretty sure whether you go to Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal, etc., you're not going to get that. Maybe if you become Ballon d'Or contender and do all of those things, great. I don't see that happening. Beyond the obvious, I don't need to spell it out to you. You're not getting 400k a week at Arsenal, you know, but you might be one of the big earners. Now, if you get Partey to sign a new deal, Trossard to sign a new deal, Saliba, Saka, Magalhaes, Kai Havertz, and Gabriel Jesus are still on big money, as are the likes of Martinelli and Odegaard. You know, Tierney, Jorginho, probably potentially Reece Nelson. These guys are going to go, but there's a lot for Berta to deal with in terms of wages and a lot of stuff. We all know he's contracted until 2027. He has a 50 million release clause. If you're Bilbao, you desperately want him to sign a new deal and double that release clause. So we'll have to see how that one goes. Apparently, Arsenal get green light to complete Viktor Gyokeres' transfer from Sporting for just 60 million as contract details emerge. We've also heard that we're now linked with Diomande and Trincao, and some reports go as far as to say a triple swoop on Sporting Lisbon's players. I can't say I believe that. 60 million for Yoker seems about right. 95 goals in 100 games since signing for Sporting Lisbon from Coventry at 26 years of age is great. They signed him for 16.8 million quid in 2023. Sizable profit. And it's a bit funny how, ironically, these players are everywhere. You look at Heusen, you look at Yoker, who they've been there, but not kind of in the conversations they're at now. They end up where they end up currently, and then they're sold to teams for profit. So you either be proactive and sign these players before they have their outbreak, or you pay the going rate. We all know Arsenal like Gyokeres. With Berta coming in, it seems like we've shifted away from Sesko, although you can't rule that out because there's still aggressive links with that people. With 60 million represents a lower fee than his 85 million release clause. That's probably owing to an agreement with Sporting, a gentleman's agreement. Whether that has a place in business, I don't know. He's still linked with Manchester United and everyone and their dog. You know, one minute you're hearing Chelsea hijacks. He's expected to be offered a deal of around 200 grand a week, putting him among the top earners at the Emirates. Apparently, we're also keen on Benjamin Sesko. However, reports suggest the club has reservations about the deal, and Gyokeres is considered to be a top target. Some say Sesko could end up being a lot more expensive than Gyokeres, so it would make sense if our budget needs to stretch. Now, as I said, we're going to pivot back to Dean Huijsen, people. He's chosen allegedly between Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal. This article actually says that he wants to move to Chelsea. Now, you look at Real Madrid, they got a number of defenders, you know, time's on their side, especially if they get Huijsen, Konate, and Saliba in the next 18 months. But they got a defensive duo. We've got Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. Don't get twisted. I want this individual. Chelsea, it seems like obviously they do have an exciting project when they get it right. It is a big club. They are in London. And from a sporting point of view, you could easily see him playing there. Probably be their best centre half. You're competing with Levi Colwill, Benashile, Axel Disasi's gone on loan, Wesley Fofana, so it would make sense. According to Simon Phillips, people, Huijsen sees the proposition at Stamford Bridge as the most appealing given their claims. I mean, that could be right, but is it a thing where Real Madrid is first, Chelsea are second, and then so on and so forth? Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, and now Manchester United, according to this article, have all been linked, people. We'll have to see. Chelsea feel they have a very strong offer and project on the table, and the overall package, as well as the promise of regular first-team football, can sway the decision in their favour. I'm sure all of these clubs, Newcastle, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, all of them could sell him a decent project in their own right. Real Madrid as well. Real Madrid is Real Madrid. Real Madrid know Huijsen is giving them priority, but Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal are very aggressive and they are ready to close the deal as soon as possible. We've also seen reports that there'll be a conclusion on his future by the end of the month. So May, if you don't know what I'm referring to. Barcelona have been thrown into the hat, and apparently Barcelona, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea have all presented their projects to him. But once again, the player favours Real Madrid, people. We have been linked with a Chelsea player who's on loan in France, people. Andre Santos. Allegedly, Arsenal are trying to sign him, with PSG also working behind the scenes. It's unknown whether Chelsea would be willing to sell the player. Arsenal have been open to selling Zinchenko in the last two transfer windows, but it looks extremely likely he will leave this summer. Arsenal and Liverpool are currently in pole position to sign Huijsen, with a decision expected soon. Once again, his 50 million release clause can be paid in 3 installments, which is music to my ears. We've gone over the Gyokeres business already. Arsenal are one of the clubs that has shown the most interest in Rodrigo and are monitoring his situation ahead of the summer transfer window, people. Let me know your thoughts. Discuss Rodrigo. Do you think we can do it? Arsenal, once again, have Sesko and Gyokeres on their list of striker targets. Arsenal will be at the table for Real Madrid's Rodrigo this summer. Apparently, Gittins moving to Arsenal is extremely unlikely. Arsenal maintain a strong interest in Bournemouth attacker Anton Semenyo ahead of the transfer window. I'd prefer Embuemo, another player that we're still forever linked with. We view Rodrigo as a potential market opportunity and are in ongoing discussions regarding the possibility of signing him this summer. To be fair, these are the market opportunities you want to hear about, people. Arsenal have been given encouragement in their pursuit of Leroy Sané. Allegedly, he switched agents. 1 minute he signed new deal at Bayern, then he's not. Then he's linked with Arsenal, actually returned to City, Liverpool, Newcastle United, actually Chelsea as well. We all know he's worked with Mikel Arteta at City before, people. So I think it's too easy to link him with us because he's got history of Arteta, because he's got history in the Premier League, and we need wide reinforcements. I don't believe it. At 29 years of age, I'm sure if you move back to the Premier League, naturally you're going to want big money. So I'm not sure. Apparently he's rejected multiple offers from Bayern Munich, the Bundesliga champions, and could become a free agent again in the next few weeks. Now, if you're Bayern Munich, the futures of Gnabry, Sane, and obviously Kingsley Coleman are subject to speculation. They need another long-term option to go with Elise. And I wonder if they feel that they pulled the trigger too early on Matthias Tell, who's not pulling up any trees at Spurs at the moment, but he did join mid-season. And Ryan Gravenberch, who's won the league with Liverpool, man, maybe pulled the trigger too early. Apparently, Spurs have opened initial talks with Eze, people. We heard this last season. Surely if they get involved, we could get involved as well, people. If they get Champions League, I guess they could flex their money. I'm not sure on the price tag that they'll want for Eze, Crystal Palace, but I would be all for that. And again, people, it's one thing talking about Gyokeres and Sesko and this one and that one. How the hell are Arsenal going to do it if you believe this, where Arsenal only have 100 million to spend on new signings this summer? Potential sales could increase this budget. So Berta's going to get his hustle on. But what do we think of the transfer budget? Reportedly 100 million. What do you think of Sesko, Gyokeres, Sane, Heyne, Nico Williams, and so on and so forth?